It's day one of the Delphi murders trial here in Carroll County. Coming up, we have the revelations that were made in opening statements today and also what witnesses said during their testimony.
65 to 70 today, and it's going to be a warm weekend. I'll have the numbers.
And honoring John Mellencamp.
We've got the celebration on the IU Bloomington campus today. Live from Indy on a Friday night. You're watching 13 News.
Well, tonight we're nearing the end of the first day of the Delphi murders trial. The families of Abby Williams and Libby German have waited 7.5 years for this moment.
And we have had a crew inside the Carroll County Courthouse all day. They've been gathering all the info they can to update you on the case made before the jury. So let's begin our live team coverage tonight with Anne-Marie Tiernan.
She's been in Delphi all day and joins us from outside the courthouse. Hey, Ann, fill us in on what you've learned.
Well, good evening to you. This is a very big day for the Delphi community, for the families that are seeking justice on both sides of this case. It's also very big competition to get a camera in the courtroom, and we were not able to do that. There were requests for that, and so now there is this pool of reporters that are working together to get information to make sure you know the very true facts that are happening in the case in the opening statement and in the witness testimony. One of them is Bob Siegel, who's been on this case for the very beginning, and he joins us now, and you were able to be in the court today. Really interesting to hear what both sides were saying in their opening statement, revealing a little bit about what they thought was the key part of their case, and then some very emotional testimony.
Yeah, it was. Right now, really, the jury is just getting settled in on this case. They got instructions. They got instructions from the judge, and she made it very clear to them that the state must prove, in order to find Richard Allen guilty, they have to prove that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and she explained exactly what that means to the jury, and the judge explained that the burden of proof is completely on the state in this situation. And she told the jury, I'm going to quote here, if the state fails to prove each element of the murder charges beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find the defendant not guilty. So from there, the jury got to hear opening arguments, and I want to walk you through those right now. The Carroll County prosecutor warned the jury they will see gruesome crime scene photos, hear from witnesses who will place Richard Allen at the crime scene, and hear confessions from Richard Allen with details that the prosecutor says only the killer would know. The defense then spent an entire hour giving their opening statement, telling jurors the state's investigation was, in their words, messed up from the beginning. They said Richard Allen is truly innocent, and there is reasonable doubt that will make the state's case, in their words, fall apart before your very eyes. Then jurors got to hear actual testimony, starting with the victims' families. Libby German's sister and father explained how the day of the murder started like a normal day, making banana pancakes for Abby and Libby before dropping them off near the Melan High Bridge. They described what they were wearing and how they did not show up at the time that they were supposed to be picked up. The jury heard about the frantic all-night search in the dark and repeated calls to Libby, calls that went unanswered. And in the most emotional testimony of the day, Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, told the jury about the moment she learned her granddaughter had been found in the woods. She broke down in tears as she said, "I could not understand why they weren't taking me to her. And then I saw the coroner's van drive by, and that's when I realized they were not alive." The jury is also learning about the terrain around the crime scene. The state showed jurors huge posters that have aerial pictures of the Melan High Bridge and surrounding area where the girls' bodies were found. They also got to see a video showing the jury what the walk looks like from the spot where Abby and Libby were dropped off all the way to the Melan High Bridge. That's an effort to try to put jurors at the scene of the crime rather than taking them out to that rough terrain to see it in person. So I can tell you, testimony is still going on right now. I was lucky enough for the first portion of today's testimony to be sitting right in the first row, just a few feet behind Richard Allen. I'm going to explain his reaction as testimony was taking place today. That's coming up at 5:30.
All right, thank you so much. Great job, Bob. And of course, we have Emily Longnecker, who's in the courtroom for us right now as those proceedings are underway. We want to make sure you get all the information. I've been out here in Carroll County and in Delphi today trying to get a sense of the community. And one thing that I really noticed here is so many of these businesses right front and center have up these not welcome signs, no media signs on the businesses, especially around the town square, right around the courthouse. This is a small town, about 2,300 people live here. They have a McDonald's, but for example, it's not big enough to have a hotel. So the jury is likely traveling here from a hotel in Lafayette. Now, during my conversations today, I did meet a woman who spends a lot of time monitoring comments on YouTube about the trial. She's just one of these trial groupies. She wanted to desperately get in the courtroom today, but she wasn't able to make that first cut. And she really is making this argument that the trial is here in Carroll County for a reason. It's for the families and for the community shocked by this crime to see justice and have time to heal. Here's some of her thoughts.
But the residents of this county, they also deserve to heal. They've been waiting for 8 years to get justice for those girls too, that they know and care about these families. Both of the girls' families, they love them. The community absolutely adores them. Even the businesses that are here locally, they will let you know right then and there. They don't want you talking about the case inside their businesses because they are also trying to heal. They want justice, yes, but they don't want all the hate that's going around towards the families brought in and expressed by people who come in from out of town to cover this case for their blog, for their YouTube, for whatever social media outlet that they're using to discuss this case.
She expressed a lot of frustration about what she calls armchair investigators, lots of conspiracy theories, people pointing fingers at people in this community that maybe don't really know what the evidence is in the case. And so the hope is that with this evidence and the testimony that now is underway, finally we will get answers about what really happened here to those two young girls more than 7 years ago. From Delphi, I'm Anne-Marie. Back to you.
All right, Ann, thanks so much. And our legal expert, Katie Jackson-Lindsay, will be joining us here on set in about 30 minutes.
And she's going to help break down the developments from the courtroom after this first day of the trial in Delphi. And we also hope that you'll join us for our Delphi debrief tonight. That's going to be on WTHR+.
Now, Bob Siegel, Emily Longnecker, and our legal expert will all be with me. We're going to take a closer look at the major developments from the courtroom starting tonight at 10. In fact, you can watch them every weeknight at 10 o'clock throughout this trial. Also, download our free WTHR+ app on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku. You can find it there. New tonight, body cam footage given exclusively to our Chase House shows a Noblesville police officer conducting a traffic stop.
Now, during the traffic stop, officers allegedly find remnants of marijuana as well as cocaine. But what happens after police arrest the man is what's raising eyebrows.
Yeah, Chase, what can you tell us?
In this body cam footage, you can hear a Noblesville police officer suggest to another officer to sample the alleged cocaine found at the scene. Here's what happened.
Come on, get your pinky. Dab that up. Dab it up.
In this body cam footage from a traffic stop in March shows a Noblesville police officer telling another officer to dab up or ingest the alleged cocaine. You can hear the other officer say that he's good as the one with the body camera walks away. So it begs the question, is this part of protocol when testing illegal drugs?
We would teach two protocols. One would be outfitted with PPE. The officer would do a field test and determine what drugs may or may not be in his possession. And the second would be in a more controlled environment where the officer would keep the drugs sealed and then take them into a laboratory where a technician under safer circumstances might test those narcotics.
Now, what protocols do law enforcement agencies have to take when testing illegal drugs? And could this officer face disciplinary action? I'll have that at 6. Reporting here in Noblesville, Chase Howell, 13 News.
Tonight, 3 people are in the hospital after a couple of shootings across Indianapolis. The first one taking place near the intersection of 10th and Rural around noon today. This ended with a person hospitalized in critical condition. The second shooting took place hours later here in downtown near 10th and St. Margaret's Drive. That's over by Eskenazi Hospital. Metro Police are telling us they found 2 people who'd been shot in a crash car. Right now, they're both listed in critical condition.
Well, tonight, 2 teenagers are under arrest facing preliminary charges of murder. The 14-year-old and 16-year-old boys are accused in the death of 38-year-old Jerry Thompson Jr. Someone shot and killed him at an apartment complex near Georgetown Road and West 79th. That's on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Metro Police identified teens as persons of interest after the shooting, but they did not arrest them until yesterday.
Temperatures right now under sunny skies in the upper 60s. We have 68 in Greensburg, 67 in Carmel, and 69 degrees in Bunker Hill. Once the sun goes down, those numbers drop into the 50s. Game of the week, Brownsburg at HSE. Take the jacket.
All right, some good news coming out of Colts camp. Quarterback Anthony Richardson will play against the Dolphins on Sunday afternoon.
This was the news we've been waiting to hear because Richardson has been on the sideline since he suffered an injury in the game against the Steelers at Lucas Oil Stadium a few weeks ago. Now, Coach Steichen says he is ready to play again.
All right, here's the bad news, though. Running back Jonathan Taylor will not play Sunday. JT was injured during the Steelers game. He's going to miss his 3rd consecutive game.
And today there's a new statue on IU Bloomington's campus.
And it is all about Hoosier rock and roll legend John Mellencamp. Our Anna Chalker was there today when they unveiled that statue.
And she shows us how the statue honors Mellencamp's decades-long career.
Oh, yeah.
To kick off IU's homecoming weekend, hundreds gathered to hear Indiana native and music legend John Mellencamp play. He wasn't here just for a concert, but to unveil a new statue.
Anyone who encounters it will have the opportunity to experience, at least partially, the degree to which John's spirit imbues this university, this town, this entire state.
This statue, built by an IU alumnus, will stand in the Fine Arts Plaza, just outside where several of his paintings are. Mellencamp says his artwork is another way he honors the Hoosier State.
And I'm the luckiest guy. You're looking at the luckiest guy in the world.
This statue and several of Mellencamp's archives now have a permanent home here on campus, but his art exhibit will run through December. In Bloomington, Anna Chalker, 13 News.
Anna, thank you. And did Vice President Harris get a big endorsement from a former VP?
Tonight, our verified team will share why you cannot trust this video. That's new at 5:30. But first at 5, time for Operation Football.
Operation Football. Dom's joining us with a look at where he's headed tonight. Plus, it's the race for the White House,
where the 2 nominees campaign today. That's all coming up next.